Harold Jenkins stands in the middle of Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, a hulking beast of a place with its endless corridors, blaring announcements, and herds of people rushing past like they're late for the end of the world. It's a chilly March morning in 2025, and Harold, 72, is gripping the handle of his beat-up Samsonite suitcase, the same one he's hauled around since his honeymoon in '78. His gray flannel shirt is damp with sweat under his jacket, and his heart's thudding a little too fast for comfort. He's not scared, not yet, but he's uneasy, like a man who's stepped on a thin ice and heard the first crack. This is it, his dream trip to the Grand Canyon, a bucket list checkmark he's been chasing since he was a kid tinkering with model planes in his dad's garage. So why does it feel like the dream's already slipping? Harold's no stranger to hard work. A retired mechanic from the South Side, he spent 40 years under the hoods of cars and the bellies of small aircraft, his hands stained with grease and his laugh loud enough to drown out a hangar's roar. Travel's always been his escape: weekend road trips to Lake Michigan, a wild Vegas jaunt in '95, but this is different. This is big. He's pictured it 1,000 times, standing at the canyon's edge, the red rocks stretching out like Mars on Earth, the wind whipping through his thinning silver hair. He booked the flight months ago, giddy as a schoolboy, but now, staring at the chaos of Terminal 2, he's wondering if he's bitten off more than he can chew. It starts small. He's dragging his suitcase toward the check-in counter, the wheels rattling like they're ready to quit, when his shoulder twinges sharp, like a knife jab. "Come on, old man," he mutters, half laughing at himself. "I used to lift engines, and now a suitcase has got me sweating." He shakes it off, but the ache lingers, a quiet warning he ignores. At the counter, the agent, a kid half his age, asks for his ID. Harold fumbles with his wallet, hands shaky from the cold, or maybe something else, and drops it. Cards scatter across the floor: Medicare, ARP, a faded photo of his late wife, Betty. The agent smiles, polite but rushed, and Harold feels it. That flicker of invisibility, the kind seniors get when the world moves too fast around them. The line's long. The noise is deafening. Gates called out over scratchy speakers, a baby wailing 3 rows back, and Harold's head starts spinning. He's got a bum knee from a shop accident in '89, and standing here, shifting his weight, it's throbbing like a drumbeat. He catches his reflection in a glass panel, sagging shoulders, a face creased deeper than the canyons he's chasing, eyes tired behind wire-rimmed glasses. When did I get so old? He wonders aloud, his voice lost in the din. He's 72, not 92, but his body's sending signals he can't ignore, signals he didn't expect on day one of his big adventure. He makes it through check-in, barely, and shuffles to security. The TSA line's a nightmare: coats off, shoes off, trays clattering, and Harold's fumbling again, his arthritic fingers slow on the laces of his scuffed loafers. A guy behind him sighs, loud and impatient, and Harold's cheeks burn. He's holding up the line, a relic in a world of sleek carry-ons and Bluetooth earbuds. The agent waves him through the scanner, but his heart's racing now, a flutter he's felt before, but never this strong. He grabs his stuff, breathless, and collapses onto a bench near gate C-17. This is supposed to be fun, he pants, wiping his brow. What's wrong with me? Harold's not a worrier by nature. He fixed planes in storms, drove through blizzards, but sitting there, the airport buzzing around him, he feels small, vulnerable. He thinks about Betty, how she'd have teased him. "You're tougher than this, Jenkins." She's been gone 5 years, and this trip's for her too. She loved the idea of the canyon, even if her lungs couldn't handle the altitude back then. He pulls out his phone, a cracked old Samsung, and scrolls to the itinerary: Chicago to Phoenix, then a rental car to the South Rim. Simple, right? But his hands are clammy, and that flutter in his chest won't quit. Is it excitement or something worse? He's always been healthy enough: high blood pressure, sure, managed with pills, and that knee, but travel's never hit him like this. He watches a group of seniors board a flight nearby, some with canes, one in a wheelchair, and wonders, are they feeling this too? Have you ever planned a dream trip, only to realize your body might not be on board? Harold's starting to. He digs a water bottle from his bag half empty, warm from sitting too long, and takes a sip, but it doesn't help the dryness in his throat. He's got a 4-hour flight ahead, a cramped seat in coach, and suddenly, that canyon feels a million miles away. It's not just the physical stuff. Harold's mind's racing too. He's triple-checked his boarding pass, but what if he misses the gate? What if he forgets his meds, those little orange bottles rattling in his carry-on? He's traveled before, but never alone, not since Betty. The airport's a maze, signs blurring, voices overlapping, and he's already asked a gate agent for directions twice, his voice shaky over the loudspeaker's drone. She pointed, impatient, and he nodded like he understood, but he didn't. He's lost, not just in O'Hare, but in this moment, this body, this age. Harold pulls out a crumpled notepad, he's old school like that, and jots down what's hitting him. The suitcase struggle, the heart flutters, the confusion. Getting old's a trip, he scribbles, chuckling darkly. He's read stuff before, bits in the Chicago Tribune, AARP newsletters about seniors and travel, how it's trickier after 70. The National Institute on Aging mentions things like blood clots from flights, stress on aging hearts, but he brushed it off. Not me, he'd thought. I'm tougher than that. Now, slumped on this bench, the roar of a jet overhead, he's not so sure. He boards the plane, a Southwest 737, and squeezes into 14B, an aisle seat. Thank God. The woman next to him, maybe 50, nods politely, her laptop already open. Harold's got nothing but his thoughts and that notepad, the list growing in his head. He's excited, Grand Canyon's waiting, but there's a knot in his gut, a whisper he can't shake. What if this trip's more than I can handle? He's heard stories, seniors collapsing on tours, getting scammed, losing their way, but he's Harold Jenkins, the guy who fixed a Cessna in a hailstorm. He can do this, right? As the plane taxis, engines rumbling, Harold grips the armrest, his knuckles white. 7 hidden dangers, he doesn't know them yet, but they're lurking, waiting to pounce. This trip's his dream, but it's about to test him in ways he never imagined. Have you ever wondered what could go wrong on a trip you've planned forever? Harold's about to find out, and trust me, what's coming next will make your heart race too. Harold's seatbelt clicks into place as the Southwest 737 lifts off from O'Hare, the Chicago skyline shrinking into a patchwork of gray and steel below. He's in 14B, aisle seat, a small win for his creaky knee, but 4 hours to Phoenix stretch ahead like a marathon he hasn't trained for. The cabin's humming, babies fussing, trays clacking, the flight attendant's voice crackling over the intercom, but Harold's focused on the thud in his chest. It's not just takeoff jitters. He's 72, chasing the Grand Canyon, and the dream's starting to feel like a gamble. He doesn't know it yet, but he's about to crash headfirst into the first of 7 hidden dangers seniors face when they travel after 70. 10 minutes in, his legs start tingling, a prickly, restless buzz he can't shake. He shifts, stretching his bad knee, but it's no use. The guy in the window seat's sprawled out, snoring, and the woman next to him's typing furiously on her laptop. Harold's trapped, pinned in a sardine can at 30,000 feet. Hidden danger number 1, deep vein thrombosis, DVT. He's read about it maybe in an AARP magazine Betty left lying around, how sitting too long on flights can clot your blood, especially after 70. The National Institute on Aging says it's a silent killer for seniors. No warning, just a leg cramp that could turn deadly. Harold rubs his calf, half convinced it's swollen already, and mutters, "Great. I'm not even there, and my body's staging a revolt." The drink cart rolls by, and he grabs a Coke full sugar, a habit from his mechanic days when caffeine kept him going. He downs it fast, but his mouth's still dry, his tongue sticking like sandpaper. Hidden danger number 2, dehydration and exhaustion. He's been up since 5 a.m., rushing through O'Hare, sweating over that suitcase, and he hasn't refilled his water bottle since yesterday. The NIA warns seniors lose their thirst reflex with age, add dry cabin air, and a long day. And you're a husk before you land. Harold's head's pounding now, a dull throb behind his glasses, and he's wondering why he didn't pack more water. Used to chug coffee all day in the shop, he grumbles. Now a Coke's kicking my tail. The plane levels off, and Harold's mind drifts back to the airport chaos. O'Hare was a beast, line snaking, signs blurring, that TSA shuffle that left him breathless. He'd stood there, heart racing, fumbling his loafers, while a dozen strangers stared holes through him. Hidden danger number 3, psychological stress. It's not just the physical grind, travel's a mental minefield for seniors. Studies from the American Psychological Association say stress spikes cortisol, aging you faster, especially when you're over 70 and out of your comfort zone. Harold's no stranger to pressure. He rebuilt engines under deadlines, but this was different. He'd felt lost, small, like the world was moving and he couldn't catch up. His hands shake now, remembering the gate agents clipped over there when he'd asked for help. 2 hours in, the captain announces turbulence, nothing major, just bumps, but Harold's gripping the armrest, his knuckles white. The woman next to him glances over, smirking, and he forces a grin. Rough ride, huh? He says, but inside, he's unraveling. Then it hits, a cough from the row behind, wet and rattling, followed by a sneeze that sprays the air. Hidden danger number 4, infectious diseases. The CDC's been hammering this: crowded planes are petri dishes, and seniors' immune systems aren't what they used to be. Harold's got no mask, no sanitizer, just a napkin from the Coke he's clutching like a shield. He thinks of flu season, of those headlines about germs on tray tables, and his stomach twists. I'm a sitting duck, he mutters, sinking lower in his seat. The flight drags on, and Harold's a mess. His legs are numb, he's too stiff to stand, too stubborn to ask for help. His head's a fog, dehydration sapping what little energy he had. The stress from O'Hare's still gnawing at him, a tight knot in his chest, and every cough behind him's a gunshot to his nerves. He pulls out his notepad, scribbling these dangers down: DVT, dehydration, stress, germs, like he's diagnosing a busted engine. For already, he whispers, shaking his head, and I'm not even at the canyon. He's starting to see it. Travel after 70 isn't just harder, it's a gauntlet, and he's barely through the gate. Okay, let's pause Harold's story for a sec, because I need you with me on this. If you're watching this far, drop a 2 in the comments and tell me, have you or someone you love ever hit a wall traveling after 70? Maybe a flight that wiped you out, or a moment you felt overwhelmed. Share it below. I'm reading every word, and I know Harold's not alone here. Back to the plane. Harold's staring out the window, or trying to, past the snoring guy's head at the endless stretch of clouds. He thinks about Betty, how she'd have packed snacks, water, a plan. She was the organizer, he was the dreamer. Now, alone, he's floundering. The flight attendant swings by, offering pretzels, and he takes a handful, but they stick in his throat, too dry, too late. He glances at his neighbor's water bottle, half full, and wonders why he didn't think of that. Used to fix planes, he chuckles darkly. Can't even fix myself. Landing in Phoenix is a blur. Harold's the last off, legs wobbling as he stands, pins and needles shooting through his calves. He shuffles down the jetway, the desert heat hitting him like a slap, and grabs his suitcase from baggage claim. It's heavier now, or maybe he's weaker. He rents a car, a dusty Toyota Corolla, and drives toward the Grand Canyon. 3 hours away, his eyes gritty, his heart still fluttering. He's made it this far, but the dangers are piling up, whispering in his ear, "You're not ready for this." He sees a sign: Grand Canyon, 150 miles, and grips the wheel tighter. I'm tougher than this, he tells himself, but the doubt's loud, louder than the engine's hum. Harold's hotel's a roadside joint outside Williams, Arizona, a neon sign flickering vacancy, the kind of place he and Betty loved for its quirks. He collapses onto the bed, boots still on, and stares at the popcorn ceiling. For dangers down: blood clots, dehydration, stress, germs, and he's feeling every one. His notepad's open, the list glaring back, and he wonders, what's next? Have you ever started a trip thinking it'd be smooth, only to hit bumps you never saw coming? Harold has, and trust me, The Grand Canyon's about to throw him a curveball that'll shake him to his core. Harold wakes up in his Williams, Arizona hotel room, the desert sun slicing through the cheap blinds like a knife. It's day 2 of his dream trip to the Grand Canyon, and he's a wreck leg stiff from yesterday's flight, head foggy from a night of fitful sleep on a lumpy mattress. His cracked Samsung buzzes with a text from his daughter, Lisa, back in Chicago. "Dad, you at the canyon yet? Send pics." He smiles, weak but determined, and hauls himself out of bed. The South Rim's an hour away, and he's not missing it, not after O'Hare, not after that brutal flight. But as he shuffles to the Corolla, keys jangling in his shaky hands, he doesn't know he's about to slam into the last 3 hidden dangers seniors face after 70, and they're about to break him. The drive's quiet, just the hum of tires on Route 64 and the endless stretch of scrub and rock outside his window. Harold's heart's still fluttering off and on since takeoff, and he chalks it up to excitement. Grand Canyon's close, he can taste it. But as he pulls into the park, pays the $35 fee with a trembling hand, and parks near Mather Point, that flutter turns into a squeeze. Hidden danger number 5, cardiovascular strain. The Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health warns that altitude and cabin pressure hit seniors' hard hearts over 70 can't always keep up. Harold's at 7,000 feet now, higher than Chicago's flat 600, and his chest's tight, his breath shallow. He pops a blood pressure pill from his fanny pack. Thank God he remembered those, but it's not enough. Just need to walk it off, he mutters, stepping out into the crisp air. The canyon's jaw-dropping red cliffs plunging into shadow, a horizon that swallows you whole. Harold shuffles to the railing, cane in hand, his bad knee groaning. He's alone, no Betty, no Lisa, just him and this wonder he's chased for decades. But he's wiped. He barely slept, tossing in that hotel bed, jet lag and nerves tangling his mind. Hidden danger number 6, sleep disruption and jet lag. Crossing time zones even 2 hours from Chicago to Phoenix throws seniors' rhythms off, per the NIA. At a restless night, and Harold's a zombie, eyes gritty, legs like lead. He leans on the railing, the wind whipping his flannel, and feels it. Exhaustion so deep it's a weight on his bones. Should have napped, he grumbles, but it's too late now. He's snapping a shaky selfie Lisa's pic when a group of tourists brushes past, loud and laughing. A guy in a baseball cap, maybe 30, bumps him, and Harold stumbles, catching himself on the railing. "Watch it." He snaps, but the guy's gone, swallowed by the crowd. Harold's rattled, his heart pounding harder, when another voice cuts through, a smooth-talking woman, 50s, with a clipboard. "Sir, you look like you'd love our exclusive canyon tour, half off today. Just $50 cash." She's all smiles, too close, and Harold's foggy brain says yes before he can think. He hands over the bills, his emergency stash, and she vanishes. Hidden danger number 7, scams targeting seniors. AARP's been screaming about this. Tourist traps love older folks, trusting, distracted, easy marks. Harold's just been had, and he doesn't even know it yet. He shuffles toward Yavapai Point, determined to see more, but the world's tilting. His chest's of ice, his legs are jelly, and that sleep debt's crashing down like a wave. He's dehydrated, still forgot water again, and the altitude's squeezing his lungs. He stops, panting, near a rocky outcrop, the canyon sprawling below. "Come on, Jenkins," he gasps, but his body's done. His cane slips, his knee buckles, and he's falling crashing to the dirt, inches from the edge. Tourists gasp, a kid screams, "Grandpa." Not his, but it stings, and Harold sprawled there, dust in his mouth, heart hammering like it'll burst. He's alive, barely, but the canyon's a blur through tears he can't stop. A ranger rushes over, young, stern, radio crackling. "Sir, you okay? Can you stand?" Harold tries, but his legs won't hold. "I don't know," he croaks, clutching his chest. The ranger's calling for help, and Harold's mind's racing. DVT from the flight? Heart attack? He's lost his wallet to that scam, his strength to the altitude, his sleep to the trip. 7 dangers, all slamming him at once. blood clots, dehydration, stress, germs, heart strain, jet lag, scams. He's 72, not 50, and the Grand Canyon's not a dream, it's a nightmare. I just wanted to see it. He sobs, the ranger's hand on his shoulder. Was it worth this? They get him up slow, painful onto a bench. A medic checks him, pulse racing, blood pressure sky high, but no attack, not yet. You need rest, water, a doctor, she says, firm but kind. Harold nods, numb, as they load him into a park van, the canyon fading behind him. He's back at the hotel by dusk, alone in that dim room, the neon vacancy sign buzzing outside. His notepad's on the bed, 7 dangers scrawled in shaky ink, each one a wound. He thinks of Lisa, of Betty, of the Herald who fixed planes in storms. Where'd that guy go? I'm too old for this, he whispers, voice breaking. Should have stayed home. The TV's on, some travel show about seniors cruising, ironic, cruel. Harold's not laughing. He's picturing the canyon's edge, that fall, the scam artist's grin. Have you ever chased a dream so hard it nearly broke you? Harold has, and he's staring at the pieces. His phone buzzes. Lisa again. Dad, you okay? He can't answer. Not yet. 7 hidden dangers have torn his trip apart, and he's not sure he can put it back together. He's alive, but defeated, the Grand Canyon a taunt he couldn't conquer. Or can he? What happens next isn't just a rebound, it's a reckoning. And it's going to hit you right where you live. Harold's back in Chicago, sprawled on his sagging recliner in his South Side bungalow, the hum of the L train rattling the windows. It's been a week since the Grand Canyon disaster, since he fell at Yavapai Point, lost his wallet to a scam, and felt his heart nearly give out. The TV's flickering with a Wheel of Fortune rerun, but he's not watching. His cracked Samsung sits silent, no pics for Lisa, no replies to her worried texts. His notepad's on the coffee table, 7 hidden dangers scrawled like a rap sheet. DVT, dehydration, stress, germs, heart strain, jet lag, scams. He's 72, beaten by his own dream, and the weight of it's crushing him. I'm done traveling, he mutters, the words bitter. But then the phone rings. Lisa, and something shifts. Dad, you can't give up, she says, voice sharp through the static. You're tougher than this, I know you are. Harold's quiet, her words sinking in. He thinks of Betty, how she'd have pushed him too, her blue eyes flashing. Get up, Jenkins. He's not ready to quit, not yet. The next day, he limps to the local VA clinic. His mechanic days earned him that perk, and spills it all to Dr. Patel, a no-nonsense guy with a clipboard. I almost died out there, Harold admits, voice low. Dr. Patel nods, flipping through Harold's chart. You're not dead. Let's fix this. And that's where it starts. Harold's comeback, one danger at a time. First, DVT. Dr. Patel's blunt. Long flights are hell on your veins after 70. Move or clot. He hands Harold a pair of compression socks, ugly, tight, life-saving. The NIA backs this. They boost circulation, cut the risk. Harold's skeptical, but he wears them around the house, pacing the creaky floorboards, and his legs feel lighter. Next trip, he'll walk the aisle every hour, no excuses. Dehydration's easier. Dr. Patel shoves a reusable water bottle at him. 32 ounces, says, fill it, drink it, repeat. Harold starts sipping on the porch, watching kids play stickball, and his head clears, that sandpaper throat gone. Should have done this in Phoenix, he grumbles, but he's learning. Stress is trickier. O'Hare broke him. Crowds, confusion, that TSA shuffle. Harold digs online, finds an app. Fly Delta shows gate maps, real-time updates. He tests it at Midway, a short hop to Milwaukee later, and it's a game changer. No panic, just a plan. The APA says prep cuts cortisol. He feels it, calmer already. Germs? Dr. Patel hands him a mask and a sanitizer bottle. Planes are cesspools, he says, and the CDC agrees seniors need armor. Harold tucks them in his fanny pack, picturing that coughing row on Southwest. Never again. Heart strain's the big one. Dr. Patel runs tests, EKG, stress check, and Harold's ticker's strained but kicking. Altitude's no joke, he warns, citing Harvard studies. cabin pressure and elevation tax aging hearts. Harold's cleared for travel, but only with meds on time and a doctor's note next trip. Sleep's simpler jet lag crushed him at the canyon. Dr. Patel suggests melatonin, a tiny pill to reset his clock. Harold tries it, sleeps 8 hours straight, wakes to Chicago's gray dawn feeling human. Where was this in Williams? He chuckles, jotting it down. Scams sting deepest, $50 gone, his pride with it. AARP's tips flood his inbox. Cash low, cards locked, eyes open. Harold practices at the grocery store, small bills only. No sob stories, and feels sharper, less a mark. He's building a toolkit, piece by piece, and it's working. Lisa drags him to a senior travel workshop at the Chicago Public Library, free, packed with gray hairs like him. They talk socks, water, apps, masks, and Harold's nodding, scribbling, alive again. You're not too old, the instructor says. Just too unprepared. 2 months later, Harold's ready. Not the Grand Canyon, not yet, but Milwaukee, a 2-hour flight, a test run. He's got his compression socks, water bottle sloshing, app loaded, mask on, meds packed, melatonin stashed, cash minimal. Midway's busy, but he steady checks in smooth, sips water, walks the concourse. The flight's a breeze, he paces the aisle, ignores the sneezes, lands fresh. Milwaukee's lakefront greets him, the wind off Lake Michigan sharp and clean. He rents a car, a Ford this time, easier on his knee, and drives to the shore, cane tapping, heart steady. He stands by the water, waves crashing, and snaps a selfie, silver hair wild, eyes bright behind his glasses. Made it, Lisa, he texts, attaching the pic. She fires back, Dad, you're a rock star. Harold laughs, loud and free, the sound bouncing off the pier. He's not the guy who fell at the canyon, not anymore. 7 dangers try to bury him, but he's cracked them. Socks for DVT, water for exhaustion, apps for stress, masks for germs, meds for his heart, melatonin for sleep, smarts for scams. He's 72, not invincible, but damn if he's not tougher than he thought. The climax hits at dusk. Harold's at a seafood shack by the lake, crab legs steaming, a beer light, doctor's orders in hand. A couple nearby, 60s maybe, asks, "First time here?" He grins. Second chance. They swap stories. He spills the canyon mess, the fixes, and they're scribbling notes on a napkin. "You're a legend," the guy says, and Harold blushes, but he feels it. He's not just surviving, he's inspiring. He thinks of Betty, her voice in his head. "Told you, Jenkins." He raises his beer to the sky, a toast to her, to him. Back home, Harold's plotting Grand Canyon. Take 2. Next spring. He's not naive, travels a beast after 70, but he's armed now, ready. He looks at you, yes, you, and wonders, what's your next trip? What's your danger? Fix one thing, he'd say, voice steady. Start there, you'll be shocked what you can do. He's proof. 7 hidden dangers don't own you unless you let them. Milwaukee's just the beginning. Harold's got canyons to conquer, and he's not stopping. What about you?